We started this newscast just this week in this new time slot, and we did this for stories like this to explain, really explain what the heck is going on here and try to end the confusion. Problem is, state leaders are also confused just a bit, but we've got some straight answers in the next 30 minutes. This is the big sentiment that you're going to be hearing. June 15th, next week, everything is going to be perfect. We're all wide open. That's not the case. There are a lot of gray area. There's a lot of asterisks, if you will. Here's the truth. You got to keep your mask on, basically, in several situations and in several locations. Today, the state spelled out the new rules. Take a look. If you're fully vaccinated, there's no need to wear your mask indoors. That includes places like a grocery store, a restaurant, or even your hair salon. If you're not vaccinated, you'll still be required to keep your mask on in all of these places. Here's the practical reality. No matter what your vaccinated status is, you still got to wear a mask in these situations. Transportation, like BART and buses or the airport. Healthcare facilities, like hospitals and schools. Today, we found businesses preparing for the reopening, but many are also facing this new challenge. The state's announcement means they're going to have to face a new challenge here and try to figure out what rules to follow and when.
What about the vaccinated people, unvaccinated people? You know, how am I going to check for that?
So how will businesses know whether or not you've been actually vaccinated? Well, according to the state, they've got three options here. One, they can take your word for it, have you self-attest that you've gotten your shot or you're double vaxxed. Two, they can use a verification service like an app, or maybe they'll just take a photo of your vaccination card. And the final option, businesses can decide to ask everyone to wear a mask. One more wrinkle to all of this. As we speak, Cal OSHA is debating its own rules about masks at your workplace. As it stands right now, at this minute, if you work indoors, you can go maskless, but only if every single person, all of your colleagues and coworkers in that building, have been vaccinated. Even if one person hasn't received their vaccine, everyone has to mask up. Those are the rules right now, but that could change within the hour. We are awaiting the decision from Cal OSHA. Joining us this evening, one of the top COVID specialists in the country, Dr. Peter Chin Hong from UCSF. Dr. Chin Hong, as we wait on this Cal OSHA decision, indoor workers can only take their mask off if every single person is vaccinated. That seems way too strict and way too hard to legislate. What are your thoughts from the medical point of view?
I agree with you, Raj. Right now, where we are in the Bay Area, having such a strict rule is probably a little bit too severe. You know, even if one person isn't vaccinated in a closed loop situation, like an office situation, that person isn't going to really acquire or transmit COVID. But in an open loop situation where it's hard to verify individuals, like in stores, groceries, that may be a little bit warranted, but again, it's going to be tough to enforce, and it'll be important to see where things go in terms of Cal OSHA guidance.
Okay, and we are awaiting that decision. Let's also bring in one of your esteemed colleagues, Dr. Gandhi, also from UCSF. Both of you actually two of the leading COVID doctors in the country. Dr. Gandhi, nice to have you on the program again. Let's get with you. You've said, actually, you've told me for many weeks, several weeks actually, that we should be reopening faster. June 15th, will the state regret this decision to reopen fully by next Tuesday?
No, we will not regret this decision. At 70% first vaccination rate reached on May 31st. That rate is actually higher in areas like the Bay Area, where we have a 79% first vaccination rate. We have the lowest community transmission rates in the entire nation. And unfortunately, we have some natural immunity for us as well, because we had a really horrible third surge in LA County over the winter. So all of that combined, the only way to get through a pandemic is immunity. And I am not concerned about the June 15th opening at all. I think it is time for us to open. All
right, that's some clear statements from you. Dr. Chin Hong, you're big on bedside manner. Has the state's bedside manner been off in terms of kind of a wishy-washy rollout through all of this for several months?
I think that the state has suffered somewhat in communication and in mixed messaging throughout the months. So it's no surprise if folks feel a little bit shell-shocked from that. I think playgrounds are one example. When we had very little community transmission prior to the big winter surge, you know, they were left closed. And I think that really irked a lot of people. There are several other examples. But I think, you know, coming to this next big deadline, I think, as Dr. Gandhi said, I'm in full support. I think most people are aligned with where the state public health guidance is going.
Well, you know, all three of us and so many of our viewers watching right now have family and friends overseas. This Delta variant is deadly. It was first identified in India and was responsible for that massive surge there. Not just India, though. The Delta variant is spreading rapidly around the world, surpassing that UK variant. It now makes up close to 60% of cases in the UK. That Delta variant is the most contagious we've seen so far in this pandemic. If you catch it, you're more likely to be hospitalized. And here's where it stands in the United States. This variant, the Delta variant, makes up of about 6% of our cases. Dr. Fauci says the best way to prevent this variant from spreading in the U.S. is through vaccinations. We know that 2 doses of that Pfizer vaccine is 88% effective against that Delta variant. We're still waiting on the results on the Moderna vaccine. Dr. Gandhi, we'll get back to you. What concerns you about this Delta variant?
So, there's actually 2 variants that have been more transmissible. I'm not actually sure they're more deadly, but the B117 or the Alpha and the B1617 or the Delta have been more transmissible. When you have more cases, you have more hospitalizations. And unfortunately, that's what India suffered through with this latest and terrible wave. What's happening in the UK is the people who are being hospitalized are those who are yet to be vaccinated. It is the unvaccinated. It is not vaccinated people who are ending up in the hospital with the Delta variant. And that's tremendously important because they hadn't opened their tiers to the younger people who are being vaccinated. In the US, we are still vaccinating at 1 million doses a day. I know that that's not 4 million like it was at the beginning, but that's still a huge number of people that are still lining up to get vaccinated. 1 million doses a day. So we have to get people vaccinated who are still waiting to get vaccinated because a more transmissible variant, just like with B117 or the Alpha, will go through the population more quickly.
Dr. Chin Hong, we talk about travel. I see commercials now online, on television, on the radio, podcasts of, get out there, get to Europe, go visit your family. Does that pose a big problem with unvaccinated populations overseas coming here to the United States or vice versa?
I think, Raj, it really matters depending on how much of the community has been vaccinated. Again, it sounds like a simple equation, but it really is. It's really that combination of natural immunity plus vaccination, but vaccination is probably the easiest rubric to follow. If the unvaccinated folks come into a low vaccination area, say like some states in the south or in the mountain west, that's maybe going to fuel a small uptick in cases. But in the Bay Area, it's probably unlikely to do so, except in maybe into some counties in California with lower vaccination rates.
We hope that's correct. As we wrap it up now, just a quick answer from both of you on a scale to 1 to 10. How optimistic are you as we head towards June 15th? Dr. Chin Hong?
I'm 10 out of 10 optimistic for the Bay Area right now. Not as optimistic for pockets within the country necessarily, but overall pretty good. In fact, outstanding, I would say. I'm not
sure how you can top that, Dr. Gandhi. Do you share your colleagues' optimism?
10 out of 10 as well. Optimism for California. The vaccination program has gone extremely well. We have some natural immunity, and together that means population immunity. I'm very hopeful for the 15th. Okay,
actually, that's reassuring to me and perhaps probably a lot of our viewers who really trust and respect both of your medical opinions. Thank you to Dr. Chin Hong and Dr. Gandhi for your time as usual. As we move on now, what about outdoor sporting events with all this? Our digital team put together a helpful video. It talks about whether or not you'll have to wear a mask, and the answer is yes. Indoor sporting events and indoor concerts. And what happens if you forget that mask? Well, venues are supposed to have extras. You can watch this video right now. Just take out your phone, use your camera to scan that QR code on the screen. It'll take you right to the video. You can also find it at NBCBayArea.com by clicking on the June 15th What to Know icon. It's right there on the top of the page. And just to clarify, that was for indoor concerts and sporting events. Our question of the day, we post this on our social media pages. We wanted to know, what are you looking forward to when California does reopen on June 15? We got a lot of responses. Most of them are appropriate to share with you. Let's bring in our digital correspondent, Abby Fernandez, sharing some of these responses. Abby, what do you got?
Hey, Raj. So everyone is excited about next week. June 15th can't come soon enough, for most folks at least. Here, Lily Garcia is telling me she's really not looking forward to anything. She's still going to wear a mask after June 15th and is keeping herself inside at home. On the other end, May Remilio says she's looking forward to some live music, both indoor and outdoor. I mean, I forget when was the last time I went to a concert, Raj. What about you? Are you missing that?
No, I'm
We're
totally
talking about that right
missing
now.
We don't talk about that, or we don't feel the importance of that so often. Indoor, outdoor concerts mean so much. We talk about Stern Grove coming back, Bottle Rock, and the Symphony in San Francisco coming back. That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. We do have some more comments here.
Everything.
Right? You spotted that right away. I'm with Tilly here. Tilly Magana on Facebook says she's excited about everything come June 15th. Rockridge Manor says he's running a 100-mile trail race in Marin, so in September, so he's excited about that. I mean, Raj, I got to ask you, though, what are you most excited come June 15th? What do you want to do?
I just kind of want to travel, I guess. So far, we've only been kind of in Northern California, so I think when we feel appropriate, when we feel safe enough, just get on a flight and go more than a couple hours away.
Right, that seems fun, yes. In the days ahead, guys, I'll be talking about all the changes on June 15th on my Instagram show, Synced In. We post it every weekday on IGTV around 7 p.m. You can follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @MBC Bay Area.
Good to see you, Abby.